All right, folks, we'll be starting here shortly. All right, folks, we'll be going live here soon. Just sit tight if you can. Hope everyone's hanging in there. If you guys are watching this live stream right now, I was going to say do us a favor, but really do your neighbors, fellow business owners, entrepreneurs a favor by hitting the like button or shooting a comment so the algorithms pick it up. And then if you could share the link that you're streaming on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please share it or tag someone that you think would benefit from this. We've got about 5 minutes, 6 minutes left before we get started here. So just kind of hold tight and roll this in the background if you could. All right, thanks, guys. Yo, we're starting here soon. Make sure to give a like so Facebook, YouTube, Instagram knows that people are watching and liking it, and we'll promote it to more people. And if you could quickly tag or share to someone that you think would benefit from our live stream here today. Sorry about the delay. We were trying to start at 1:19, but a number of factors, including not being prepared enough and so got a flicker going here. Do have some awesome content though for you guys, and kind of looking forward to really actually your questions. So if you don't have any yet, if you kind of want to think through something that maybe you've been struggling with, if it's something we can answer or I can answer, I will. Even if it's not necessarily related to what's kind of going on right now with coronavirus and quarantine, if it's marketing related, especially kind of, we're going to be talking a lot about ad placements, and that's something that is a pretty kind of convoluted, difficult thing, especially on Facebook these days. Kind of have that ready to go for when we get to the questions at the end there. I'm going to try my best to keep up on those questions. We've got the team working to kind of log all those and send those to me, so that way we can try our best to answer as many as possible. I don't have a time set for how long this will be. Hopefully it'll be kind of brief, succinct, and to the point, but for those of you that know me, that's likely not going to happen. So I think we're just about a couple minutes here. Actually, my watch says we're about live. Okay. Again, give it a like, a thumbs up, or shoot a comment so I know you guys are live. We're going to get started here. For those of you that may not know me, my name is Alexander McCarthy. I started raising sales about three or so years ago, coming up 4 years, for a full service marketing company here in St. Louis. This video is not about us. It's not about what we do, our services. I did want to give you a little kind of context there. I'd say probably 90% of our clients are in the St. Louis area or Missouri in general. I will be kind of going over a number of points and features based on your guys' feedback today. I'm going to be touching on the current campaigns that we're doing right now to really push and promote our clients at this time. We'll be going over ideas and tips, ideas that we can kind of leverage and use during this kind of quarantine when everything's to a halt. Some tips and suggestions that have worked well for us and our clients, and then kind of some things happening in the community. I want to give a quick thanks to Tan Nguyen of My Name is Tan, who does a lot of our videography for our clients. He's got our setup here. And Tan, actually, if you could fix this light, it's kind of flickering my face here. Then we'll be going over some resources that are both local and national, including some stuff that might be saving some of your guys' businesses, or you can kind of share to people that are going to need it. And then, of course, the questions. So, we got a little bit of blowback from folks while we were running ads saying that we were taking advantage of the situation. That is certainly not the case. Essentially what happened was we saw this coronavirus coming down the pike. I actually kind of saw it happening back in December, recommended to a client of ours who's in this industry that, hey, you should buy up a bunch of masks. Once it started to hit the U.S. and the media picked it up and started going crazy with it, we ran one campaign for a client of ours, and it started blowing up. And we realized that, hey, there's something to this. And then once the quarantine happened and businesses were literally, their life were on the line, their employees, their families were kind of all in flux in terms of what was going to happen. Raising Sales, we kicked in gear to figure out how we can at least keep our clients not just from surviving, but kind of thriving throughout this process. It's been working. And so I felt the duty to share this with the community as a whole. And I hope other people are doing the same. So by no means are we trying to kind of take advantage of the situation. There's nothing we're selling. There's nothing we're promoting. Quite frankly, as it stands, we're going so full force on our current clientele. I don't think we'd be able to really pick anyone up in the coming weeks. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because there are people taking advantage of the situation. There are businesses, companies out there that are jacking up prices of vital and key resources that people need to survive. That's not us. That's not any of our clients. And that's just not how we operate. Our focus and our focus of our clients is to be able to kind of survive, keep the payroll going for their employees, and make sure that their families are taken care of. So I kind of want to just start very briefly with kind of a little motivational quote to kind of set the tone for all of us. This is from none other than the legendary Sylvester Stallone. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about as hard as you get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. So in this time, no matter what happens today, tomorrow, or next week, or 2 weeks from now, just kind of, I think one thing that will help all of us in the community as a whole is if we kind of just take a deep breath and approach everything kind of with a sound mind and an open heart for this specifically when it comes to some sort of pandemic or plague, if you will. No one could kind of predict this. No one could technically plan for it. But there's a lot of things that many people have done or should have done in order to be able to pivot and adjust on the fly, whether emergency situation or sometimes a positive opportunity like the Blues winning the Stanley Cup last year. This time last year, no one really thought the Blues had a chance to make it, and yet they did. And so there's ways businesses can capitalize off of this. And certainly, the more prepared you are, whether it's something good or something bad like what's happening now, that preparedness is going to allow businesses to not just survive, but overcome these situations and come out stronger and healthier. I read a stat today, I think it was something like for natural disasters, businesses that are hit by natural disasters, 40% of small businesses go under during that time. And that was like a super scary stat for me. 40%, whether it's like a hurricane, earthquake, tornado, or something like this, 40%. And so that just kind of justified to me that what we're doing is right. And quite frankly, we all kind of need to get on board because it's these businesses in our community that really keep everything going, all of us afloat. And even if you don't work for one, your neighbor probably does, maybe a family member as well. So let's talk about preparedness real quick. What does that mean? Of course, there's a million things in terms of safety, security. What we're going to be talking about today is specifically kind of your marketing and your branding and how you could be prepared in that regard. Number one, something I was talking about in January of last year, though for different reasons, was to have a robust database of clients and employees. What that means is whether that's mobile phones, so you can send out blast, because after all, platforms can shut down. They have before and they will again. And something like this kind of throws everything up in the air. Who knows if the platforms we're streaming on right now will be able to kind of run at full function again in a few months. So you can't just count on an email database. You can't just count on, text message marketing. If you can have snail mail options as well, that would be certainly beneficial. What that'll allow you to do is get messages out quickly to your community or to your employees to be able to notify them of anything that's going on. Maybe it's just something at your business, whether it's like a water main break, electricity's down. The last thing you want is someone showing up at your business to spend money, but they can't because you're closed. So having a very robust database is like numero uno in terms of preparedness. Now, there's a lot of different ways to get that database. I don't want to get into that too much today because I really kind of want to get to the meat and potatoes, so to speak. But building that robust database is key to being prepared. So whenever you are in crisis or things are changing, you could blast it out. And obviously, it's very beneficial when you're not in crisis as well. Another key component is social media audience. Having a robust community and a large audience and an active social media profile, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. For some folks, Pinterest and Twitter might make sense. And of course, the new one that's coming up, TikTok as well. I know there's a lot of small businesses, there's a lot of restaurants right now that were wishing that they had the infrastructure before all of this happened to get out their messaging. And quite frankly, those are probably going to be the ones that struggle through this or just don't make it at all. So social media audience is huge. Having a robust website, so that means more than just like a little Squarespace landing page. If you can, having a robust website. And if you're sitting at home right now and you're stuck, you know what? This would be a great time to, if you can't afford it, figure out how to build out a website. I'm self-taught. It honestly wouldn't take more than 4 or 5 days of commitment to be able to do that, because there's a lot of businesses right now that otherwise weren't selling online that now are. And then there's businesses like some of our clients I'll show you today where they have been selling. Right now it's becoming their main source. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit more as well. Something a lot of us don't think about, but us as a agency, we see this all the time, which is make sure, in terms of preparedness, make sure you have all your passwords and control over all your accounts. Because whenever, stuff hits the fan, it'll be hard to reach maybe that person that always had access to your social media profiles or your website hosting. Maybe they're not reachable at all. Things kind of get crazy and out of control. So the more stuff that you have that you can directly access, that you can lock down if need be, or change or adjust, the better. So passwords, they should all be listed out, and make sure you have control, ownership, or access to all your platforms that are digital. I mean, that is key. And it blows my mind how many of folks, when we start talking to them, do not have any of that stuff. They're cool. I don't know what my passwords. Well, right now that's becoming a big issue for a few folks. Last thing in terms of preparedness, and that is just having relationships with your customers, your clientele, and kind of that community that will be able to come together and support you. There's been some awesome stories. We'll get into a few of them today, but there's been some awesome stories locally and throughout the country, and really, quite frankly, the world, in terms of communities coming together to support a business, and then likewise businesses coming around to support the community or their employees and their employees' families as well. So that's something that doesn't just happen at a flip of a switch. It's got to be something you procure over time and kind of build. And that could be done very effectively today on a lot of these digital platforms. So I kind of mentioned that in December, I was recommending to a client to buy masks. That being said, I never thought that this would get as out of control as it is, and as serious as it is. But we started to kind of position clients the past few weeks for this to happen. I kind of want to show you guys here. This is just kind of a little breakdown of our ads manager for a number of our top performing ads in the last 2 weeks. I wish I could kind of show you guys more, but there's a lot of privacy involved and a lot of specific details that probably just wouldn't be right or pertinent to share. But I just kind of want to highlight a number of things on this screen here. What you're looking at, you got budget and results. Let's check out the results for a second. What we have here under purchase, that is Facebook. Based on our pixels, we're able to track how many people have not just clicked on an ad, but made an actual purchase or transaction on the website based on that ad. And again, this is just Facebook data. We're running ads on Instagram for some clients. That might be Google ads, but this is kind of what I was touting in our video, which was like over 5,000 leads. Quite a few of them are right here, where it says on Facebook. Like, let's look at the second row down, 922. That number is how many people have filled out a form with their name, phone number, and information. And I'll kind of get into what these campaigns are in a minute, but I just kind of want to show proof of concept, a little credibility for you all. What we've been doing the last 2 weeks, kind of building off of the coronavirus situation, to provide value to their clients and their customers, or their just target audience in general, providing value to them, but in return, amassing a huge database for them to start reaching out to and building a relationship with during this quarantine, and then really hot and heavy as soon as kind of this stuff passes. And it will pass, hopefully sooner than later. So as you can see, there's a number of campaigns. We had over 1,000 people fill out a lead generation form for. On top of that, something that is a little bit softer, not as valuable, but still valuable, is the number of impressions that they've got. That's basically like brand awareness. You could think of the impressions as a billboard or a TV commercial. It's that brand ID. It's kind of building that name recognition for folks and kind of putting it into their head. So even those that maybe didn't fill out the form, they're going to be able to recognize these brands the next time we go to retarget them. So I just kind of wanted to, again, throw this up there in terms of a little bit of credibility statement and kind of a breakdown, and I'll show you what those campaigns looked like. Specifically for these 6 purchases, this was just running for a couple days. I want to say we're probably well over $300 or $400 in terms of purchases on the site. It's a wholesale coffee roaster that's here in St. Louis, a very large one. Their clients, a lot of their main clients are coffee shops, are office spaces, and obviously right now they're shut down. They're not ordering coffee. So what we've done then is push the attention to driving sales online. And so you can see there's only $55 spent, and they've got well over $300 in sales so far. I mean, once you get these campaigns optimized, it just becomes a numbers game. You break down the ratio. How much money can we spend? How much money do we spend? And this is the result we get. This is the amount of sales, revenue, etc. So okay, let's just jump right into it here. So this was the first campaign that we ran, and just a little bit of kind of backing up for a little bit, in terms of kind of getting a feel for like our mindset and where we were at. We knew this was going to kind of cause an economic impact, and so we decided there's urgency here. We need to kind of circle the wagons And our responsibility is to protect our clients, their employees, and their families. This particular ad campaign is still running right now. Those were some of the bigger numbers. Our client helps people get out of timeshares that no longer want to be in it. Many of them have kind of mortgaged their home or their car. They're in debt up to their ears, and they decide they want to get out. Our client helps them to do that. So we put out a ebook online called Coronavirus Survival Guide for Timeshare Owners. So basically, we just kind of broke down, hey, here's what the coronavirus is. Here's what's going on with it, both worldwide and locally. And then we gave a bunch of tips for folks in terms of how to make sure if they are traveling before kind of all the quarantines and bans came along. The bans came along. How to make sure that they didn't get sick. For those of you that may not know, most timeshare owners are a little bit older, and they're certainly their audience kind of falls into the demographic of high risk. So we ran this campaign. We started getting hundreds and then thousands of people filling out a form. And now they've got, we kind of cross-checked it. We looked at the comments and the individuals. It was very highly targeted. The leads are high quality as well. And so now we're building this database of folks for them to reach out to and connect with to see if they might want to get out of their timeshare. If not, that's all right. They'll be in the database, and we'll continue to send them, informative emails over the course of the coming months and years. And at some point, if they do want to get out, well, they'll know Square One is front of mind for them. So once we were doing very well with this campaign, we kind of took it and ran with it for a number of other clients we had. Here's an example we did for Weber Elite. Basically, it was once this stuff kind of started hitting hot and heavy, we were not able to, no one's able to go out and do open houses, couldn't really go out and see houses very much. So we decided to roll out, finding your dream home while you're quarantined. So we've been running these ads as well. And for this one, we're just kind of breaking down some of the same stuff and then really giving them a bunch of resources where they can search online to find, their dream home. House of Pain, local gym here in St. Louis. They have 2 locations in Chesterfield and in Dorset. We first started rolling out this coronavirus survival guide for fitness freaks and gym rats, because we all know sickness and germs are spread in the gym. Excuse me. And so we rolled this out. Same thing. It was a lead generation form on Facebook, and we captured, I think that one was around 1,700 leads, and the cost per lead was super low. I'm going to scroll back just to kind of find out what we had. So it was 34 cents per result. Now, in addition to these ebooks, we also had landing pages for organic traffic, and we captured a whole bunch of people submitting the forms on their website on those landing pages as well. Right now, and maybe this is later in the slides, but they're still open right now. So any of you that are trying to get to the gym and your gym is closed, they offer day passes. But we're running some ads right now that is join a gym as resilient as you are. And so this is kind of like the mentality I want to convey to you guys, and kind of the purpose of this cast, which is kind of finding niche or ways to get out in front of folks, your target audience, in these situations. They are primed and ready. Since they are still open, we decided to kind of leverage the fact that all these other gyms are closing, and allow people a place that a lot of people still want to work out. And so we're allowing them to do so by getting this information out there. So a lot of people again are saying, "Oh, taking advantage." No, we're honestly offering options for people that want it. No one has to click on these things. None of the pricing has been spiked. None of that stuff. Here's another one, Coronavirus Survival Guide for Buying and Selling Homes. This is Irene from Keller Williams. Again, it's kind of a way for people that were planning on or are in the market for a new home or to sell their home. We're kind of laying out ways they can still do that or at least move the ball forward during this quarantine. Here's a couple other folks we got going. One, Bertarelli Cutlery. They do a lot of paper supplies, including masks, gloves, and yes, toilet paper. And so this was an obvious one to push and promote out there. And this morning we just found out they won an award by Feast Magazine for being the top of their industry in St. Louis. And that was a poll that was taken of the St. Louis community. So kudos to Bertarelli Cutlery for that. I want to emphasize that they too are not spiking any of their prices. So if you need toilet paper, gloves, masks, they're the folks to go to. This was the coffee company we were talking about on your guys' right. So if you can't go to the coffee shop, we decided, well, then bring the coffee shop to you. And that is allowing folks to be able to purchase all of their coffees online. And we're running a discount right now to help folks out as well. And again, you saw basically $50-something spent, and we have over $300 in sales. It's been running for maybe a little over 24 hours. Something I kind of want to touch on here later, but any of you that had events, do not cancel your event. Do not cancel your event. Postpone it or take it virtual if possible. That would be the ideal thing to do. By canceling it, you're going to have to likely issue refunds, not just to ticket buyers, but to sponsors as well. Or if it's a free event, you're going to have to start that whole marketing and pipeline process over again to get people to RSVP. If you postpone it, you can keep everyone there, keep your attendees in your pipeline, so to speak. And then just whenever this thing clears up and you set a new date, you're just flipping the switch now instead of having to recreate the wheel. So those are kind of, and I'll kind of get into these other slides here in a minute. Those are a number of campaigns that we've been running and promoting over the last week and a half or 2 weeks. So there's a lot of businesses that are struggling right now, but again, like these, there's a lot of businesses that are doing good as well. And, that might sound a little harsh to say with all the pain that's going on, but they've got employees and they've got families that they need to take care of as well. And that's kind of the point of this podcast and probably why a lot of you are listening right now. So some questions to ask yourself to see if you can kind of replicate what we've done is ask yourself what you sell, whether it's a product or service. Is that something you can bring online? If it's a service, you can likely do a lot of conference calls. Video conferencing is huge. Google Hangouts is free. You might as well use that. Of course, there's FaceTime. If it's a product or service, maybe it's something you could bring to a third-party platform. The obvious one that comes to mind would be, let's say if you're a restaurant, Postmates, Grubhub, Uber Eats, etc. Is it something you can sell differently? So is it something that you can either sell at a reduced price, or if people aren't coming into your shop, can you sell it online again? Or maybe you're adding a whole new line of things like, let's say, merchandise or branded clothing that you can sell online that you otherwise didn't have. And if you're short on cash, that's okay. You just do a pre-sale. It's that simple. And of course, can you sell them? Can you sell them differently? And kind of the mindset here is take care of your own first. Make sure that's kind of the mentality that we're taking and recommending to all of you. But once you have your oxygen mask on, the next question you should ask yourself, as a business owner, entrepreneur, or just someone that's part of the community is how you can help others. What can you do to pay it forward? And we'll get into some examples of that here shortly. And as we jump into it, if anyone has any like resources, links, or examples of some of the stuff we're talking about here, please throw them in the comments for other people to be able to look at and use. And then also at the end of this live stream, we'll be taking all those comments that might have good resources or just stories or examples of kind of that the feel good kind of pay it forward mentality, or just clever ways for them to shift and keep their business afloat. We're going to be putting all that together, as well as some of the resources I'm going through right now, into a document we'll be sending out to everyone that registered online or Facebook or texted in. I'm going to try to get that out on Monday. Of course, with all this craziness, I don't want to promise that. So let's just jump into it. And of course, any of the things that I'm going over today, if you can't wait till Monday, that's fine. Google it or reach out to us, and I'll get you these links or these resources. First and foremost, let's talk about the hardest hit: restaurants, food service, hospitality. Right now, there is a group on Facebook, STL Curbside Restaurants. Just search it. It is listing all of the restaurants that are serving curbside. And then also the STL magazine has one of these as well, basically just a complete list of all the restaurants in the area that are serving curbside. So, and I'm asking all of you, and if you could share it with others. We have to support these folks. Again, I'm going to go back to that 40% of small businesses that close in a natural disaster. Do some takeout or curbside. Maybe buy a gift card while you can. Something super cool that I don't know if JB at Gaslight, I don't know if you're watching right now. I saw he posted and recommended that we still tip and using Venmo, which I thought was just a brilliant idea. So don't forget, if you can afford it, to be able to kind of maybe just tip them as well, whether that's through one of these third-party platforms like Postmates or just shooting them a Venmo. Something that Facebook is doing, this is big, you guys. Facebook announced $100 million in ad grants that they're going to be rolling out over the next couple weeks to 30,000 businesses across the globe, not just in the U.S. We'll be sending out the link to this as well for you guys to be able to get hit to get updates, and then two, whenever they roll out that application form, we'll make sure to send that out to everyone as well. So maybe some of these campaigns we're talking about, you're like, oh, Alex, that's a brilliant idea, but I just cannot afford to run a bunch of ads right now. Well, then this would probably be the route for you. Maybe have it built and ready to go, so when they roll this out, you can apply. If you get approved, you're set. I honestly think it's a great thing Facebook's doing, and it's probably going to save a lot of companies and businesses as well. In addition to the grant, they're rolling out a resilience toolkit and then a quick action guide for emergencies like this. That is already live. You can download that right now and just search it. We'll be sending a link out for that as well. Again, for these events, do not cancel them if possible. There's going to be some cases where you just have to cancel. Maybe you got talent coming in town and you can't reschedule. Understandable. Postpone if possible. Even if you do have talent that can't come in, postpone, and you could always slide someone else in there. If people still want to go, great, but then maybe at that point you offer refunds if you had to change up the event. And I'd recommend, since you're changing the event, that you should probably offer the ability for people to get a refund anyway. At this point, sometimes the initial reaction for folks is to kind of be defensive and kind of hold on. But whether it's karma or paying it forward, do what's right, offer the refund for folks in situations like this. I would say even if you don't have to postpone something, or maybe there's overdue bills or accounts you have, let's be flexible as we can for folks during this time. It's going to pay off dividends in the long run. People are going to remember how companies and businesses treated their customers, their community, and how they reacted to this as well. Okay, we're nearing the end here, so stick with me. I just kind of wanted to go over and kind of shout out to a few folks. So this distillery did something that Four Hands is doing as well, which is they use their alcohol to make hand sanitizer, which I think is awesome, especially since, obviously it's hard to find, but then two, it's either free or at extremely reduced cost. Again, I wanted to kind of focus on Womply, and there's another one. I believe it's called Get Otter or My Otter. Both of these companies will help your brand if you're not able to sell things virtually without building a whole big website infrastructure. You can use these platforms. Now, I haven't used them personally, so I'm up and running, so you can sell things virtually pretty quickly. And then I just kind of want to focus on something here that isn't necessarily business related, but was a super cool idea, and it's saving people's lives. And that is, some people in Italy were able to use 3D printers to create these valves that go on the respirators. And they are able to create them for $1 a piece. There's obviously a shortage in Italy of a lot of medical supplies, but these respirators being number one, they use their ingenuity and what they had around them, which is a 3D printer, to replicate the valves. And it's literally saving hundreds of lives right now. Again, shout out to Four Hands, local company that's putting and paying it forward, creating hand sanitizer for folks. And I believe they're getting it away. And then I just kind of want to highlight here as well. I believe this was Home Depot. Sometimes it's okay to be clever and make light of the situation. All of us could use a laugh. We could all use a little bit of lighthearted jokes. And I think something like this is not in bad taste whatsoever. It's kind of cut off here, but basically what they're advertising is hose sprayers. So if you can't find toilet paper, maybe pick some of these up. I doubt that sign really sold any additional hose sprayers, maybe a couple because it got people's attention. But what it did was it went viral online, and now Home Depot is on a lot of people's news feeds because they did this. Another great example, Salt and Smoke, another local company. As soon as this hit, they rolled out a foundation that the founders then were the initial investors into that would help keep their employees of their many locations to be able to have some money during this time off to be able to survive. And there's countless other examples of this around town. I definitely don't want to just single them out like they're the only ones. There's plenty of restaurants, delis, and even kind of people that are in the business-to-business world that are donating their extra food and helping keep their employees, I guess, alive and able to care for their families. Another cool one was I don't know if you guys have heard this. Carnival Cruise Lines has offered their ships in New York, and I think they're going to do it in California as well, as basically like hospital beds for the overspill from the hospitals. And I promise you that in the long run, even though it's probably costing them a lot, and they're obviously not running any cruises or making money right now, in the long run, that's going to pay off. If you're a landlord, if you have like reoccurring payments or balances for clients, just kind of recommending that you, if you can, pause those, maybe be flexible with payments, offer discounts where possible. It's going to go a long way. I just want to run through. I had a couple more stats here, and then let's get to any questions you guys may have. So what I'm looking at right now, it shows the immediate damage from a natural disaster impact. Again, 40% of small businesses will close. 1 year later, 25% of additional businesses will close, and after 3 years, 75% of small businesses without any sort of like disaster plan or option or way to overcome it are going to close. I don't say that to scare you, but I do say that so that during this slow time, you guys can maybe put these kind of pieces together in action. I don't think it's too late to do it for the coronavirus outbreak here, but also it'll help you be prepared for the next one. Because as we're finding out, whether it's a 100-year flood, 100-year outbreak, 100-year recession, they're happening a lot more frequently. So with that, I had kind of one question that I really wanted to highlight that we got through before the live stream here, and the lady had asked what, in terms of like budget, what you should put behind Facebook ads. And so that's a very difficult question. We ask ourselves that every time we're looking at a new campaign. What we do and what we recommend is, maybe starting out with $50 or $100 per day and kind of seeing where that goes, and just monitoring it on a pretty regular basis. As in, for the first day, maybe you're checking in every hour. And Facebook is going to charge you differently based on different campaigns you run, whether they're going to be charging you per impression. Let's say you have a video you want to promote. They're not going to, most of that cost is going to come from people watching the video, let's say through their news feed or through the stories. Not as much of that cost will come through via any clicks, but things like the lead generation form, most of that cost is Facebook is charging based on people filling out that form. I'd say the minimum you can run a day to really get any sort of kind of feedback on whether or not the ad set is good or the offer is good or the service or product, is at least like $25 to $50 to get like a real good feel for it. And if possible, we always like to run, multiple ad sets initially and see which ones play the best. So maybe we'll put $25 or $50 behind 2 or 3 ad sets, and whatever one's performing best, we will then shift all the money into that one. Now, when I say that, I mean it could be different content. It could be different image or video. Maybe the verbiage is different. Maybe the button that you click on is different. And so there's kind of a lot of variables that go into it. The best way to figure it out is to just dive in and give it a try. Again, within $50, $100, you should be able to figure it out. And as we saw based on what I showed earlier, it was the coffee campaign. Let's see, scroll all the way to the top here. They spent $55 and they have well over $300. And so that's a very quick way to get dollars in the door for your business. People are still spending money online. We have an active audience. Maintain their life as normal as possible. So kind of keep that in mind. And that's all I really have for you guys. I wanted to answer some more questions, but it's already 3 o'clock. If you guys have any other questions or those that have asked questions, we're happy to follow up afterwards. I'll kind of leave you guys with this. None of us know what's going to be happening in the coming days, weeks, and really, quite frankly, months in terms of the fallout. Again, kind of keep these things in mind in terms of what you can do for yourself and how you can help your community. And one big thing that I feel very deeply about is, if you can, if you feel comfortable, just say a quick prayer for everyone, and that this situation gets resolved as quickly as possible. Even if you're not the praying type, this would probably be the time to do so. And then so thank you guys for everyone that stuck around. I know we kind of had a long but very hopefully useful live stream here. People have asked me if I was going to do follow-up live streams throughout this situation. I'm not really sure. Our biggest focus is trying to help our clients, though I do feel like we have a duty to kind of share what we know with the broader community. So just kind of keep on the lookout for updates. And again, we'll kind of send over the information sometime next week with all these resources, links, and then anything that has changed or adjusted since then. So with that being said, thank you all very much. Have a good weekend. Have a great day today and a better day tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Take care.